Okay, go online, love.
At Northwood, we teach skills for growing, design. At Northwood, we teach skills for growing, designing, and living like it matters. Skills like how to create a natural building to keep your family safe and warm, and how to design an energy-efficient homestead surrounded by fruit trees, animals, bees, and bright futures. Skills for growing your own organic food, and how to turn it into meals your family will love. We believe skills like these are what makes community. The ability to pitch in, help out, and make it happen. To do it ourselves, to create the futures our families need and deserve. Come join us. We'll get you growing.
Bread and butter, eat it in the morning. Bread and butter, eat it in the evening. Bread and butter, I'm not leaving. See you all day long.
We're at Northwood. We teach skills for growing, designing, and living like it matters.
Oops. Uh-oh. So I don't know if you're seeing this, Dave, but I can't it says this feature is disabled, the showcase feature. So I have no idea what that means. See, look here. Now it says, do you think we should broadcast from your computer instead?
Why?
Because then, look, now this feature is disabled.
Which feature?
Everything that has to do with here. The showcase is not working. That's what should have been the ad, right? The ad is the showcase.
Is it because this is a testy thing?
No, this is supposed to be a live webinar. Cameraman.
Is this different than when you were, like when you presented before?
Oh, there we go. Webinar's on air. It came back.
Hmm.
So now, what do I press? This one, the offer.
Okay.
Okay. So I can just have it prepared there.
So show offer.
All right.
I want to see what it looks like on there.
So putting it all together. All right. So here are the phases of the moon. Go to slides. Next. Okay. So putting it all together. How do you put this all together? First of all, don't be afraid. Don't feel overwhelmed. That's what we are here for. And we really, our ideal setup is to get a whole community of all of us growing together and supporting each other. And you'd have to start somewhere. So start small. Use the workbooks that we've tried to make step by step, very carefully, easy to read for you all, and connect with us via email, social media, or if you're still confused, we want you to do the work. But if you really need help, we would love to help you through a 30-minute Skype call consultation. So what is this all about? If you see on your right, oh my goodness, did I screen share all of that? No. Okay, so share. Okay. If you see on your right-hand chat screen, you'll see our offer for a 30-minute Skype call consultation. What is this about? Well, we really want to help you and make the most out of that 30 minutes that we have for you. And so you would need to give us beforehand your plant list, your location, your address, and show us your completed planting calendar so we know that you really did the work. And we will make suggestions to help optimize your yields and answer any or all questions that you may still have about your garden. And in the end, what you will create, not us, we will just guide you or help you if you need it. And if not, we have all the tools. We've already presented all the tools for you to use on your own for free. And that's what we want to do. We want to give you the power and you to create your abundant garden. So that's it for tonight. We leave you with this parting song, this heartwarming. This video brings tears to my eyes every time I watch it, because this is what I want to live, want my life to be. And I hope it will be yours as well. So after this video, we will break for questions, and that offer will be up there for, I can only take 4 people because my time is limited too. I'm a mom of 4, and we have a very busy schedule as well in our garden, but I'm happy to help any 4 of you tonight who would be the first 4 to hop onto this offer. Okay? And if you don't get it, email me just the same, and I will try my best. I may not do like the exacting research I would for those of you who I would give my time to, but we will definitely do our best to answer all questions and help each other grow. And if I don't answer it, we will get a forum up for everyone, whether on Facebook or on our website, so that we can share as we grow together throughout the season, the garden seasons. Okay, so here's that video that I leave you with, and then your questions. Stay till the end because, oops, what happened? Stay till the end because we have the Permakits raffle coming up and you might just have won it.
We're Milkwood. We teach skills for growing, designing, and living like it matters. Skills like how to create a natural building to keep your family safe and warm, and how to design an energy-efficient homestead surrounded by fruit trees, animals, bees, and bright futures. Skills for growing your own organic food and how to turn it into meals your family will love. We believe skills like these are what makes community. The ability to pitch in, help out, and make it happen. To do it ourselves. To create the futures our families need and deserve. Come join us. We'll get you growing.
Bread and butter, eat it in the morning. Bread and butter, eat it in the evening. Bread and butter, I'm not leaving. Sing it all day long.
The end. Okay, so back to me now. Let me show you my face again. There. All right, so how is that going, Dave? Let me look at the chat. Okay. Okay, back to the beginning then. So PowerPoint. Why is that happening? Okay. All right, so you can see slides now, or me? Okay, welcome to the planting calendar, which tells us all when to grow our food. So I just want to warn you, within the planting calendar, there are lots of games going on. And the first is a Name That Tune game. So I'll be singing, and I want you to type into your chat boxes and tell me if you can guess the name of that song throughout the game. And before further ado, this is a series of webinars that we have planned throughout the year. We are actually switching, so I'm going to change the slide. Let me just put a note. Webinar series. Slide change, because it's not for real anymore. But we are committed to giving you these webinars in 2016 and grow our gardens with you. And this is the third in this 12-month series called the Planting Calendar. Who we are. So our names are Nikki and Dave. I'm Nikki, and that's my husband, Dave. And we are here because, and I'll switch it over to me for now, just so that you can see a real face. Okay, so our story, and I've told this before, is that we started with allergies, kids' allergies. You can see my daughter maybe or not there. So when she was 18 months old, she was 18 pounds forever. And her doctor is on the line. My good friend, Dr. Cindy, also happens to be a milliner. But she was like the first to see that my daughter had allergies, and Zoe had allergies, and it was followed by Ethan having allergies. So there was definitely something about the food that we were growing there was something wrong with it. So we decided to start gardening, but we dabbled in it. We're not really serious, and we always had failed, well, not always, but we often had failed crops, more often than not. And throughout the years, we actually took a journey to see our doctor friend, Dr. Cindy, in Salina, Ohio. And that was the first time we'd ever been told, you cannot, these words, okay? This was like a weird thing to say, but okay, Cindy, we're coming to see you. And we traveled a long distance to do that. And she goes, well, you can't, because our lake is poisoned, and our lake is the town feature, the tourist feature of our town. So why that was so was because the runoffs from all the agriculture that we were seeing around Ohio as we were driving into Salina, the runoff from the chemical fertilizers was poisoning that lake to the point that even a dog that jumped into there died, and everybody was warned, or is periodically, as I understand it, warned every year whenever this happens, these algal blooms that poison the lake happens, that they're warned not to go in, because they come in with all these sorts of diseases, exhibiting all these bad symptoms. And if I were to put Cindy on the chat today, she would tell you all about it, but we will not. And that's where we started. And then we watched Food Inc. We went to the Philippines, and my uncle actually has a whole coop operation where chickens don't see the light of day. And that just, when we did, I was not that much, it didn't matter that much to me, except for the fact that I was eating these things that were all pumped up with antibiotics and such. So that's our story. We stumbled onto permaculture, and now I wanted to tell you what permaculture is about. Let me just write, that's another slide that I am missing here. I have too many slides. Permaculture is, let's go back to the presentation. That's my daughter Zoe right now. She's still under the growth charts, but that may just be genetic. And she still has the allergies. Unfortunately, that's her worm being behind. And she's helping to decorate our permakits. Now, why are you here? I always ask this question because I would like to know what everyone's reasons for growing is. So let's type on the don't show Zoe too blurry to see her picture. Okay, I won't. And as you answer or type in your pictures as to why you are here, I will check them after this slide, which should be the slide on, let me insert a slide there. Go to slide. Why we are here. So I'm just going to erase Zoe. Oh, what is permaculture? Okay, so anyway, there should be a slide next. So the next slide is, why are you here? And the next slide is, what is permaculture? Permaculture is intentional, integrative design based on observation. Then I'll show the whole picture about it connects your plants, the animals in your garden, with yourself, with even your home, and with the community in the end. So that's what we're trying to build online. We're trying to bring permaculture to the ground by bringing it first to you guys online through these webinars. And the other reason, of course, that we are growing is because we are very spiritual beings, and we believe that nature really brings us to the Creator, and that we are here to restore creation to its fullest glory and to cultivate the earth in order to offer it up to God. So now to see what the answers to your questions are. Oh, you still see my face. Okay. So there was no screen share at that point. You probably have to show, thanks. Okay. So why are you here? There. So after that question's done, I go to here comes the song, okay? Now, can you guess what the song is? Everything has its season, everything has its day. Germination temperatures begin to show us the way. What is your plant seed germination temperature? So here's a vegetable planting guide that was taken from the Colorado Extension Master Gardeners program, and it shows at what point cold season crops germinate. So they germinate at around 40, lettuce and onion 35, but 40 through 80 degrees, sometimes 40 through 60. And warm season crops generally germinate at around 60 degrees. So tomatoes a little earlier. So you could, if you wanted to extend the season of your tomatoes, you could even start them earlier. There are two major categories for annual vegetables: the cold season vegetables and the warm season. And so we are talking here about something that's not traditionally permaculture, because permanent kind of tends to tell you that we permaculturalists prefer perennials. But I want to help the home grower and myself grow the annual vegetables that we love to grow as well. So we can look at them. If we know that there's a cold season and a warm season in general, we can first sort take your workbooks out, okay? First sort our chosen crops into two seasons. So cold seasons and warm seasons. So here are examples of cold season crops, and you can see these nice and neat and tidy in your workbook pages 8 to 14, I believe. And then this is just the general family name that we call beans. Beans are called legumes. Mustard, kale, and cabbages are called brassicas, but I won't go through that too much in detail tonight. So here again is that germination temperature minimum. You can see cold weather crops are defined by the 40-degree germination, and these crops over here are the warmer weather crops, which germinate at around 60. So hardy, you could further subdivide your categories of cold season into two subcategories, which are the hardy crops and the semi-hardy crops. And once you do that, then you're well on your way to knowing where to put these plants in your calendar. So this is just a short overview. We're going very quickly on your workbook, which is why I send it early to you and ask you to already decide what you would like to plant this year. And if your plant choices are not on here, don't worry. I mean, this workbook, I really had to research each of these individual crops. It is not exhaustive. It's just a starting point for you to see how things flow and how you can do this yourself without my help. So in your workbook, move the plants you plan to use from the hardy selection into the hardy portion of your empty seasonal planning tables. So these are your seasonal planners, the winter spring page. Put the blue hardy ones that you like into the hardy section and the green plants that you like into the semi-hardies. Once again, these are your choices. I'll let the screen, we have a lot of slides to go through. Well, I will let the screen pause here for a moment, but then I will go on, pick your choices from here, and let me know if you guys know what you want for the hardies and semi-hardies. Okay, and then I will go on. So for myself, I've picked peas, radish, and kale for my hardies. And then I will move the plants that I plan to use from the semi-hardy into the semi-hardy selection once again. And then I pick potatoes, cauliflower, and strawberry for my semi-hardy selection. So once again, those two major categories are cold and warm. Just think about it that way. And under the warm season, we can also subdivide it into two subcategories: the tender veggies and the very tender veggies. And basically, they are subdivided into these categories because of their germination temperatures. So the tenders germinate at a lower temperature, and the very tenders need a higher temperature to germinate. Move the plants that you plan to use from the tender selection of the tables into the tender portion of your empty tables. So if you wanted to see what that was again, tender selection, here are some examples: beans, celery, corn, cucumbers, New Zealand spinach, and the very tender would be cantaloupe, eggplants, tomatoes, lima beans, pepper, summer squash, watermelon, and pumpkin. And that's the table that you're going to use next. So those are your choices. So I've selected beans and corn for my tender summer veggies. And I'm going to now move the very tenders that I like. You will probably move tomatoes, but I'm just going to use summer squash for myself. Some squash into the very tender. Now let me check on your questions and see if you still see my face, even though I've screen shared. Uh-oh. How is that? If there's something wrong, please come and see me in the room and don't let me go on and on. Thank you. Okay, so now that we are back to this list, we take out our fall winter season planner, that's this one, and place it side by side by our semi-hardy crops. So notice that the fall winter section is red, just like the summer section, very tender, is red. And the reason for that is to remind us that these semi-hardy crops in general need to be sown in the summer, not in the fall. So we will be placing these semi-hardy crops into the semi-hardy red section. And if the crops have more than 60 days to harvest, we will talk about that later on, we place them a little earlier. So let's start. So I've cut out, and you can do this as well, when you print out your pages, you can print doubles of these particular pages that have the names of the plants in. I'm going to now select where do I put according to germination temp. You can see on the screen 45, 40, 40. What do you think the first thing I should plant should be? So I've put 45 first, 40, and 40. Is that correct? And then I put 45 for kale and 40 and 40. I should probably rearrange it in a better way. So we talked about germination temperature, which is what we're talking about now. That's how we arrange our plants. We have to arrange our plants within the seasons in order of their germination temperature. So in winter and spring, we arrange it from lowest to highest. In the summer, from lowest to highest. And in the fall, from highest to lowest, because then the temperatures dip again. Are you with me still? You see, there is a long delay. Okay. So now back to this. Peas would be first because they have a germination temperature of 40. Turnips next because they're 40 as well, and kale has a germination temperature of 45. And whereas we started out with potatoes earlier, potatoes actually have a germination temperature of 45. Cauliflower and strawberry have 40, so I've rearranged it, lowest to highest. Same thing with summer, lowest to highest temperature, and in the fall, highest to lowest. So that's why I placed my 45 first before my 40s in this example. If you're wondering what your hardy crops minimum germination temps are, take a look quickly here or on your workbooks. This is a real workshop webinar. You guys have to be working alongside that workbook, alongside the chat if you have any questions tonight, and stay with me. I researched a lot of hours to bring this to you guys, and I'm trying to bring it to you as easy as possible. So work with me. This is not the kind of webinar that you can just listen in the background to. You need to work with me in order to get your planting calendar tonight. Otherwise, you can do it some other time. But I would really love for you to start tonight because I'm here and I can answer any questions you have. So taking a look again at temperatures, we see that the minimum germination rate of temperature of peas is 40 and the maximum is 80. So basically we can look, and we can get this from weather.com. There is a monthly average calendars like this on weather.com for your own personal zip code, and you can plot on this graph what the window for peas is. And I've just put the peas there and squished a little bit to show you that the window is right there from mid-March or even, mid-March to late May or early June for planting peas. Now, the next thing to think about after temperature is the second part of the song. Okay, everything has its season, everything has its day. Temperatures for germination begin to show us the way. Plot your days to harvest, find out exactly when. You'll find your crop decides to stop growing only then. All right, let's see if anyone's gotten the name that tune. Okay, all right, song. Now, take that cold weather crop selection again into your hands and place the plants that you have chosen that have several days to harvest, more than the other plants that you've chosen. Place them earlier in the season. So for instance, if you've chosen onions, you want to make sure that you put them earlier on your calendars. So if you are still sorting, put the onions before anything else. Here again is that selection just for you to see. Brussels sprouts have a long germination time as well. They need a long germination period as well. And you can see radishes don't. So if you are planting radishes, you don't need to plant radishes early. You can if you want to have radishes all year round. But if you want to make sure that the other things grow first that need that long germination time, you want to put those in first. So arrange it accordingly. So here I am again. I've sorted my peas first because peas have a germination rate of 90. Oh no, now I've forgotten. Peas have 65. I'm working with peas, kale, and turnips. So turnips have 50 and kale have 55. So in order of germination, in order of days to harvest, peas take a longer amount of time to harvest. So I will put them first, turnips next, and kale last. And here I am in my February calendar, which, by the way, the calendars that are on your planting calendar are mock-ups. They are not the real calendars of your region. You would have to find those yourself. They're actually in the Nebraska area. So unless you live in Nebraska, those are your calendars. But if you don't, you need to go online and cut and paste your calendar average, the monthly average temperature for your zip code, which you can find on weather.com. So if you click you can see this on the workbook as well. Click on weather.com, click on full forecast, and on the right-hand corner, you will see a monthly chart, and that will show you your monthly calendars for the entire year and you'll see predicted temperatures or observed temperatures in the historically observed averages, and that'll help you to plan going forward. So we have these arranged according to temp and also according to days to harvest. How about our hardy section? We do the same. Peas, kale, and turnips, they take about 2 months, 60 days, right? 65 and 50 was our date, so about 2 months. But potatoes are a little dicey because some of them can be harvested as early as 70 days, and some of them can be harvested as late as 135 days. So, and since most of the potatoes, you can really grow potatoes basically that you get from the store, if you're not quite sure what the potatoes season is, you might just want to prepare for the worst or the longest day to harvest. So I've put my potatoes earlier here. Potatoes first, then cauliflower next, according to days to harvest, and the strawberry is the last because its days to harvest are, strawberries are 60, potatoes are 125, and cauliflowers are 65. So I've arranged that accordingly. And here we are in February. The temperature ranges in February are still too low to really get a good read. But actually here in March, you start to see it is above 40. So in fact, if you just want to try it out, like if these were your actual temperatures, the observed temperatures were what really happened, then your peas can go in as early as this date, which is the 24th, your turnips on the 25th, 26th, and the kale on the 27th, because of these observed temperature ranges. And then you can plant them again the next week if you wanted to, and if you had some left over, to extend your season so that you don't just pick them once, you're picking them the next week as well. So here we are in March, and we can plug in our crops like so, taking note of when we plug them in so that we can also count the days to harvest from these dates. So we know that peas germinate after, what did we say? Now I can't remember. 80 days, 60 days. So we would have to count 60 days or 50 days from this point in time, March, April, May, and then we would see that in May, so in summer squash is 60, and April has consistent 60-degree temperatures in Nebraska. That's where we plot it. And then these peas are actually peas that we can, I don't know what, we can plant again. Actually, those were supposed to be harvested, so I have to put H's in those peas. And so these were the harvest dates for the peas that we planted earlier. And these are the harvest dates that we've indicated with the letter H for the strawberry, cauliflower, and kale. Now, what about our warm weather crops? Pumpkin takes 105 days to harvest. We're harvesting still. So we just have, I'm just going to show you that warm weather crop selection again, just for you to see that summer squash is 70 days, and that's what I use as a basis for harvesting here. Now to our fall, remember how we said we would put our hardies into the late summer, and that's why we sow our hardy, semi-hardy crops. I'm sorry, our semi-hardy crops in the late summer so that we can harvest them in the fall. We don't sow them in the fall per se. And that's why they're in red. So I'm removing the strawberry because the strawberries are perennials. And then I will look at the hardy days to harvest. So we were working with long day potatoes and what were we working with? Cauliflower. So cauliflower is 65 days. Now we are in June. How soon could I put the potatoes in again so that they could give me a fall crop for sure? So look at their maximum temperatures and make sure that they will still survive the heat that's in the summer. So their maximum temperatures are 90. In Nebraska, I can put them in as early as June. In your place, it might be different. And that's how I dealt with the, and then I do the same with the cold weather crops. So the cold weather crops, I look at their maximum temperature range and figure out when can I put them in. So let me see the maximum temperature range for them. So that's 85, 100, and 80. So as long as my temperature range is not that high, I can put them, like turnips are 100, so they're safe to be planted in the 80-degree weather or the 90-degree weather of July and August. And here we see when we harvest them again in September and when we harvest the potatoes again in October. So I'm just going to put H's on my harvest dates. Okay, so we're now in November, December. So everything has its season, everything has its day. Germination temperatures begin to show us the way. Oh, let me see. Plot your days to harvest. Find out exactly when you'll find your crop decides to stop Growing only then do flowers bloom on short days or long days. Oh, so the next topic is photoperiod. Has anybody guessed this song yet? Let me see. All right, no one. And a wise mother actually suggested that I pause for all to see if I could answer all the questions that I have midway. So we are kind of midway, a little bit over. Just wanted to see if, oh, how long have I been online, Dad? How long have I been speaking? So if there are any questions that I want, okay, great. And did anybody answer this? Okay. Thanks for bearing with me. Okay. Where are we? So let me go back to my presentation. Okay. Do your flowers bloom on short Going when do your flowers bloom on short days or long days? So some vegetables we want them to flower, and some vegetables we don't want them to flower or bolt. What are those? So why do we have short days and long day plants anyway? Short day plants are actually plants that will flower when the days are short. And they do that because as soon as the day is done, as not as soon, but a little bit after the day is done, a protein called florigen is released in their actually leaves, and that triggers whether and it looks for the sunlight being short there, or it triggers flowering if the day is short. Now, if the day is long, the flowers that are long day plants, the plants that are long day plants will flower if the day is long, and those that are short day plants will flower if the day is short. That's the short answer to what short day and long day, what photoperiodism is. So what are examples of long day plants? So beets, carrots, cilantro, dill, fennel, lettuce, onions, peas, potatoes, and radishes, they will flower only when the days are longer. And when does that happen? During the summer. Cucumbers, beans, sweet potato, okra, and sunflower will flower when the days are short. So when the growing season comes to an end, that's when they flower. Or when the growing season is just beginning, as in the days of, for some of these that like cooler temperature, that's when they flower. And that's what we want for beans. But we may not want that for lettuce, because when lettuce flowers, then their lettuce leaves don't taste good anymore. Now, day neutral plants that don't really care are most of the summer crops: tomatoes, the nightshades, potatoes and peppers, and eggplants. So in general, they've found that most long day plants are actually temperate climate plants. And those that are short days are subtropical plants. And those that are day neutral have actually been adapted outside of the region. Like tomatoes were initially subtropical, and they just adapted into the temperate climates. Take a look at the photoperiod or flowers when column in your workbook. We want peas, beans, strawberries, melons, peppers, tomatoes, squash, and potatoes to flower, but we don't want leafy greens, carrots, beets, and turnips to flower. So basically, just watch out for the long day plants, because they're the ones that that are out of season, that may flower a little earlier. Peas and turnips are long day. So we want to plant them as early as possible in the cold season. Because that means, well, not peas so much as turnips, because that means that you don't want the turnips to bolt. Potatoes are long day. Plant them as early as possible in the cold season as well, because you don't want potatoes to bolt. Actually, are they long day? Uh-oh, what did your slide say, Dave? Sweet potatoes. Yes, long day. That's right. So potatoes, you want to plant them as early as possible in the cold season, more because of their, in our selection, I think potatoes govern more because of their days to harvest than, yeah, you want potatoes to flower actually. So this slide is totally wrong. What slide number is this? '85. Slide 85 is wrong. Okay. So hardy crops, for most warm weather crops, we don't have to worry about bolting because they are short day or day neutral. So we want them to actually flower at the end of their season. So if they're day neutral, tomatoes, they don't care. Like tomatoes, they don't care what the day is. But short day beans, they care. So we want them to flower when the days are short, which should be at the edges of the summer. So beginning of the summer or end of the summer. So beans, I put at the beginning of the summer so that I'm sure that they'll flower and hopefully will still flower at the end again. So germination, so here we go again with our song. Everything has its season, everything has its day. Germination temperatures begin to show us the way. Plot your days to harvest, find out exactly when you'll find your crop decides to stop growing only then. Do flowers bloom on short days or long days? Oh, crop rotations come into play. Hey, heavy feeders first, heavy givers first, heavy feeders next, light feeders last. So this is crop rotation traditionally described. First you plant heavy givers, which are beans, and then heavy feeders, and then you rest. But John Jevons, who of Grow Biointensive fame, which we use a lot in permaculture, suggested this alternative 3 crop rotation, where you have a heavy feeders first, heavy givers next, light feeders last. That's your rotation. And that way you don't have to have a field lie fallow. You can use the space 3 times. So what are heavy givers? These are nitrogen fixers, and heavy feeders are most summer veggies. Corn is a heavy feeder, tobacco is a heavy feeder. Light feeders are your root crops. So just keep that in mind when you plant your garden. Another thing to think of to maximize your garden is to intercrop. To maximize your yield is to intercrop. One space, different crops. And why? Because, and finally, to make this growing year your best. Okay, great. Thanks, Dave, for that answer. Let me see if anybody, okay. And finally, to make this growing year your best, don't forget to intercrop to confuse the pests and leave some drops in the ground. Just harvest what you need. So that's what intercrop means, meaning intercrop with these herbs to confuse the pests. Okay. So Three Sisters method is actually it's always a good example for everything. But here is a good example for first, what comes first? The beans come first. And then, so you are intercropping here with beans so that your weeds don't take over. And so What else? And then your squash. What else is wrong with this? You can still, there's a fourth, remember from the last video, you could intercrop this even more to confuse the pests with different herbs. And finally, the cropping that we recommend is sequential cropping, where you plant according to the seasons, which, hey, that's what we've been doing right now. We've been doing all of this arranging and sorting of our crops according to a sequential crop system. So you don't even have to worry about this, because this is what you are doing right now with your calendar, okay? So you put your spring crops, your summer crops, and your fall crops. Why is cropping important? It was obviously important to Thomas Jefferson, because he said that I will avail myself of the time I have to remain here in Philadelphia to satisfy myself by inquiry from the best farmers of all the circumstances which may decide on the best rotation of crops. He would have loved this webinar, for I take that to be the most important of all the questions a farmer has to decide. Now, bonus, phases of the moon for you moonies out there. Seeds outside lettuce. So those crops that have seeds outside themselves, the fruit, like lettuce, mustard, cauliflower, cabbage, and broccoli, these are flowering plants, prefer to be sowed in the new moon. Those that have seeds inside, such as melons, peppers, squash, beans, and tomatoes, prefer to be sown first quarter. Root crops prefer the second quarter, and you transplant and prune and harvest and cultivate in the resting phase, which is the full moon. So why is this important? Because just as the sun determines photoperiods, flowering, it determines the days to germination, it determines so many things, the moon in a similar way does the same, because of the gravitational pull it has on the plant's water and its effects on the roots. Now, I have to say, there have to be more studies done on this. There is not enough study on any of what I've just said tonight. I have combed the internet and the journals for all the information I've given you, and I have a list of resources that you are welcome to if you ask me for it, of journals that do just one crop at a time, and not, there's like one journal for one crop for broccoli. Whereas if you look for journals that have to deal with, say, diseases, you see several journals, right, for one disease. So there has to be more science done on actual plants, on plant science. So more research done on plant science. And I really want to encourage that in the young, which is why we have an outdoor classroom in our school, a permaculture garden in our school set up. So there is a place that you can get this phases of the moon neat and nicely on your webs online. I'm so sorry. And it is timeanddate.com/moon/phases. And if you plug in your zip code or your area, your location, wherever you live around the world, you will see the phases of the moon. So I've plotted just to show you how similar it really is for our, let's see, Nebraska, Washington, D.C., and Honolulu. They're all the same dates. March 1st, March 8th, March 15th, March 23rd for this month, for the same phases. So we're not quite, I mean, it is a globe, it's the moon, right? So maybe on the other side of the globe, I don't know, I didn't check the Philippines, but it's the same for everywhere. Putting it all together. Now, don't be afraid to start somewhere. Start small. Don't be afraid of all the information that I've given to you tonight. And I hope I've presented it. I see. Is this useful content to you? I want to ask, please answer that question, because I really want to help you guys grow your own food and help myself in the process. Don't be afraid. Start somewhere, start small, use your workbooks, connect with us. Don't be shy to email us. And if we have not answered all your questions by email, email us again. Touch base on social media, or, oops, show offer. Or we have an offer for you tonight in order to take action on all of this. Okay, because I do not want to leave you hanging. I don't want to give you all this information and not be able to have you grow your own food. So what do I have? Now, why is this not sharing? Cancel. Let's see. Share. Share. Okay, so I assume that this is being seen right now. Is that correct? Am I right in that assumption? Yes. Okay, so putting it all together, you can, if you are still confused, and rather than be paralyzed and just have this printed planting calendar or unprinted planting calendar gather dust in online wonderland or gather dust on a bookshelf, schedule a 30-minute Skype call with us, okay? Do the work, give us your list, tell us where you live, show us that you attempted to complete this calendar, and we will make suggestions and encourage you onwards and give you all the tips that we have under our sleeves to optimize your yields this year, to grow something that you will be proud of. And we can answer all the questions that you may still have about your garden. And this is what you will create. You will create a heavenly garden of vegetables, Garden of Eden, of eating for you and your family. And that's what we want. We want that 1 million people grow their own food. And we are in some way, because we've been asked to do this by someone up high, that we are in some way an instrument to making this happen. All right, we want a healthier world and healthier you. So if you have any questions, I will pause here and I will leave the offer screen up for the remainder of the time. I would only be taking, okay, go to previous slides. I only can take, because my time is limited as well. Let me go to myself first. Stop screen sharing for a second. Okay, do you see me now, or do you still see my PowerPoint? I hope you can see me. Okay, so I have only a limited time as well. So I can only take 4 people for the month of March, literally. Okay, whether it's about time for me. It's about the time for me that I can't extend myself even more than I already have. So 4 people, 4 lucky people who will take this offer tonight. We will be in touch with you. You will schedule your appointment with me in the coming weeks, and Holy Week for me is off. Easter is not. We celebrate on Easter, but the month of March. And then if you can't see me in March, then we can schedule it in April as well. But there is a calendar. Once you click on schedule a session, there will be it will lead you to a calendar link on Calendly, and we can go from there. Okay. It's $35 a session, but you don't have to pay until before, like 10 minutes before your actual Skype call. What else? Are there any questions? I am here now, and I will stay as long as you guys desire. Oh, Permakits, raffle, Dave. Okay, so did anybody find out what that song was? So I'll sing the whole song again, okay? We'll close by that song, with that song. Instead, yeah. Oh, wait a minute. I didn't close with my Milkwood Permaculture. And here is a little, you know what? Yeah, there. Okay, so that was about an hour, right?